Hello.
All the tech ready?
Yes, it's all ready to go. Are you ready for all the people to come in?
Yes, please. Okay, we ready for off, Lisa?
Yep. Just
okay. Oh, sorry.
Are you right?
I got it.
Yep.
Sorry about that. Hello, I'm John Hadji.
Hi.
I'm solicitor for the owner of the property.
Yes. Okay. I'll do the formal beginning stuff, and then we'll get into the presentations from people. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this meeting of the Central Coast Local Planning Panel. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we live, work and play, and particularly to pay respects to the Darkinjung country and elders past and present. We recognise the continued connection to these lands and waterways and extend that acknowledgement to the homelands and stories of those who also call this place home. We also recognise our future leaders and the shared responsibility to care for and protect places and people. As you all know, or you may have gathered from that beginning bit, the meeting is being recorded and webcast. Our panel members today are me, I'm Donna Reigate, and I'm the chair. We have Greg Flynn and Lindsay Day, who are our expert professional panel members, and Lynn Hunt, who is our community panel member. So welcome all. We have no apologies. We're dealing with 3 development applications today. One that relates to 1 Yumbul Close Foresters Beach, another that relates to 315 Greta Road, Kulnara, and the final one is 46 Noamunga Crescent, Wonderland. We've been provided with assessment reports from the council. We've done site orientation. We've also had council staff brief the panel on issues the applications raise and answer some questions from us. We've got some people lined up to address the panel today. What will happen is that after I've done the conflicts of interest and the minutes, we will jump straight into hearing from the members of the public who've registered to speak on these applications. They get 3 minutes each. We then hear from the applicant or the applicant's representative, who gets a total of 15 minutes to respond to all of that. Members of the panel have the opportunity to ask speakers or indeed council officers who might be with us questions to clarify our understanding of things. And once we've done that, the panel adjourns into a deliberative meeting where we make a decision in relation to each of the applications, whether we approve, refuse, defer, whatever it might be. And our intention is to have the minutes of that deliberation up on council's website as quickly as possible. Okay. First things first.
So can I? I'm Ian Sinclair. I'm actually giving a presentation at a conference at 2:40. Don't
worry, Ian. I think we'll be well.
Yeah. Would I be able to go first so that I can get my presentation out of the way and then get my presentation to the conference sorted, or do you think I'll have time?
I have no problem with that, as long as Marguerite Gray and Christopher and John Hadji don't mind letting you go in front of them in the queue. And I'm not seeing anybody jumping up and down, so I imagine that that's probably okay.
I'm sorry, which application does this refer to?
This is number 2, item 3.2.
Oh,
I'm a planning consultant, and unfortunately I'm double booked. I've already moved my presentation from 2:20 to 2:40. So it's one of these unfortunate when you're asked to speak at conferences is one of these unfortunate things.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I'm all right with that. I'm happy to be flexible, and I'm not seeing any great objection on the part of those before you.
Could I just add? I'm happy for Ian to throw his presentation out there now if he wants. But in terms of having the second matter dealt with first, that will
I don't want that. I don't want that.
Good, because I've got
I would just like to get my presentation out of the way.
No problem.
So that I can go and attend this, do my presentation.
Well, if that's okay, I'll just jump back to chairing and we'll try and get through all of this as quickly as we can.
Sorry, Donna.
Okay, so declarations of interest. Members of the panel have all provided a written declaration indicating that they had no conflicts of interest in relation to these matters today. Has anybody become aware of anything since those declarations were provided that they need to tell me about now?
No, Chair.
No, Chair.
Nothing from me either. We've got minutes of previous meeting there, which have been endorsed by the chair of that meeting. Can I take it that we're happy to note those, members of the panel?
Yes.
Yep. All right. Okay, let's jump straight into hearing from our speakers, and at Mr. Sinclair's special request, he's the only person registered to speak in relation to Greta Road, Guelin. Fire away, Mr. Sinclair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. My name is Ian Sinclair and I'm a rural planning consultant with Edge Land Planning. I prepared a submission to this DA last year on behalf of several residents who live in Guelin. I have read the planning report prepared by the external consultant, and I and my clients endorse the recommendation to refuse this DA. The reasons for refusal are comprehensive and covers a wide range of matters raised by this DA. As I'm sure you can appreciate, this is a complex DA and one that has many issues that will impact the amenity of the surrounding area as well as the local environment. The key issue is that the development does not fall under the definition of rural supplies and is prohibited in the RU1 primary production zone. It can be considered to fall under warehouse or distribution centre or specialised retail premises. I might add that this is an RU1 primary production zone, which should be promoting agricultural land uses, not retail uses for which the proposal resembles. If you agree with the planner's characterisation of the development, then you have no option but to refuse the DA because it is prohibited. The matter first came to my client's attention when they discovered the pipes being stored on the road frontage of the site. As you know, the land has a development consent for a poultry farm and a further consent for an extension to that poultry farm. My clients have observed that there are problems with the truck movements from the site turning onto Greta Road, which they have observed crossing the centre line. They are concerned that this would continue should the site be approved for a retail use, which would generate much more traffic. There have also been instances of non-compliance with the consent, which we have brought to the attention of Council under separate correspondence. During my review of the DA, I found that the information provided to support the DA was not adequate to enable a proper assessment for what has been proposed and also how it would interact with the consents for the poultry farm. The plans did not even show how access was to be gained to the proposed pipe storage area at the rear of the property. In addition, it was evident the pipe storage area contradicted with the layout of the poultry farm. I would like to congratulate the council officers and the external consultant who prepared the report, and again would urge the panel to adopt the recommendation and refuse the DA. My clients have noticed the illegal activities that have been occurring on the site for more than 1 year now and would like the council's Environmental Compliance Services Unit to take immediate action to seek compliance with the order issued to the landowners on 14 March 2023. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sinclair. Now, we don't have anybody representing the applicant in relation to this matter this afternoon. We also don't have anyone else registered to speak on that one. Members of the panel, do you have any questions for Mr. Sinclair or indeed for council officers in relation to this application?
None from me. I think the report adequately addresses all the issues.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Chair, I've got no questions.
No questions.
Okay, same with you?
Yep.
All right. Well, that's it, Mr. Sinclair. You are out the door and it's only 2:12. So you've got plenty of time to go and brush your hair and all that sort of thing, or whatever blokes do before they speak at conferences. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you very much for your understanding, Chair, and to the other people. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Okay, thank you. Now, we'll go back to agenda item 3.1, which is 1 Yumble Close Foresters Beach. We have Marguerite Gray is the first person registered to speak on that matter.
Yes, thank you. My home shares the southern boundary to this property. After some relevant comments, I will outline my key concerns and the non-compliance with development standards. I acknowledge the builder owner is entitled to develop his property, but not at the expense of adjoining properties or the neighbourhood in general. Unfortunately, the owners seem to have learnt nothing from the previous refusal by the panel for a similar scale of development. How can this DA change from a house and secondary dwelling to a 7-bedroom house, but the building design remains exactly the same? This seems misleading and a deliberate attempt to gain approval with an intent to use the structure for its original purpose. There are multiple balconies and entertaining areas and no gardens, just planter boxes, which presents as holiday accommodation. The twice edited Statement of Environmental Effects and questionable reports indicate an assumption that they won't be scrutinised. The assessing officer has copied many sections of the statement into his report. The DA was lodged in October, but it wasn't until the 15th of February, some 4 months later, that the site survey, detailed plans, clause 4.6 justification and key reports were finally made public. Why were we told the panel would not be the determining authority for the DA despite significant public concern? Surely these are signs something not quite right is going on here. As I do not have the knowledge, I'd appreciate your close review of the full set of plans against planning controls. Your assessment is important given both the applicant's intention to pursue a hearing in the Land and Environment Court or the level of public interest in the outcome of this DA, whereby the accuracy of details relied upon by the owner will be further scrutinised with the benefit of time to do so. My key concerns are heights, setbacks, sunlight, engineering and pedestrian safety. The design does not use the slope of the site and to absorb the bulk and scale of the building. Incredibly, it presents as 3 to 4 stories to the rear and side neighbours. The applicant's desire to retain the existing concrete structure is not environmental planning grounds that justify a departure to statutory height standards. The concrete structure can be demolished. The owner is simply choosing not to. Plan 7 shows the measure point with the whole of the 4th level exceeding the 8.5 metre height control. This 4th level also completely destroys privacy for neighbours. The applicant contends that the departure to statutory height control is, in their opinion, minor. If it is so minor, why does the design not simply comply? It is our opinion that the heights indicated on the plans are misleading and that the departure to statutory height controls is greater than indicated. The front setback and the side setbacks do not appear to comply with controls. Why? Proposed site coverage is 27.5%. We fail to see how this can be accurate. As most of the southern boundary is Category 2 medium hazard landslip, is it wise to excavate and build so close to my Category 2 landslip property? The geotechnical advice submitted does not appear to provide the relevant detail. Given houses have been lost nearby, this is a significant issue that should be considered in detail. Sunlight access. Plan 1.2 shows the rear gardens of 3 adjoining properties to be adversely impacted with loss of sun to the private open space areas. How can this be deemed as compliant? The shadow diagrams appear to be inaccurate. Is there a detailed concept drainage, civil engineering design as required for this substantial build in an area known for landslip? Does the panel agree the stormwater management plan is adequate for a house of this scale in a street with no curb and guttering? And lastly, there are safety issues for pedestrians and vehicles. This site fronts a 3-way intersection with visibility issues. This DA does not comply with relevant Australian standards. One example is site distances and a driveway adjacent to a traffic island. Why is public road safety not considered to be important by the owners or council, especially with such a substantial increase in site usage and intensity? In summary, I welcome any questions from you as experts, and thank you for considering my very real concerns.
Thank you very much. Now, members of the panel, do we have any questions for Ms. Gray at this point, or shall we hear from the applicant and then open to questions from the panel? What would you like to do? Anybody got anything at this stage? So we'll just park that at this point and ask Mr. I've got a Christopher Haji and a John Haji registered, so I don't know if I've got both of them, but I might just have one of them.
I'm Christopher, the owner.
Oh, yeah.
How are you?
Okay, so now they're
If you can come back to John Hadji.
right. So there's somebody else with Christopher Hadji who's not registered?
Oh, he's not speaking. He's just my son-in-law set up the computer for me. That's all.
Okay, fair enough. You guys, off you go. Thank you.
Okay, well, I'd just like to start with, we did go in front of the planning panel before with the previous plan, which was much higher. We took all points into consideration from the panel, and we just basically have reduced it. We've come up with a smarter plan, and we do comply reasonably for an R2 zoning, and there's not much more that I can say than what the reports are showing. And yeah, we just want to basically, we're keen to build a home. You know, I do have a large family, but I didn't think that was a crime to have a large family and live in the area. Like, that's something that can't be helped. But we just basically want to move forward and build our home. It's been going on too long now. And that's all I can sort of say, that the reports don't say.
Okay, the other Mr. Haji, do you wish to add to that?
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. Look, I'm Christopher's solicitor. I've read the objections, which I find at best based emotion, at worst I find absolutely offensive. Certain submissions were put before you that talk about line of sight, shooting and increasing crime because of a large house. I want to put on the record they are offensive, and there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever to substantiate any such allegation. I've heard everything Ms. Gray has had to say. Ms. Gray has to understand this is beyond emotion. There are laws, there are rules that exist. My client did take into account previous objections. The scale of this development application currently before you for consideration is way below what was originally put before council for consideration. The concerns regarding privacy and everything else have all been taken into account. Ms. Gray talks about non-compliance with building standards. Well, where is the evidence for that, apart from the fact that it's been scaled back and council has, through the report which I read this morning, approved it. They've supported the application. As a matter of fact, I really don't need to say much more than reply on the report supplied by Mr. Evans this morning. It succinctly goes into all the details. Ms. Gray complains about multiple balconies and the like. Well, these multiple balconies exist now, where nothing will change. Questionable reports. Well, Ms. Gray, I ask, where is your evidence that these reports are questionable?
I'd be really happy if we didn't turn this into a debate between people who are entitled to express a view on matters. If you could just
I appreciate that,
the planning grounds rather than if you could not play the man but play the ball, that would be very helpful.
Well, no, all I'm doing is I'm responding to the allegations being made today, but they're the same allegations made in all the objections. The privacy issues were very well taken into consideration. You've got to remember that the existing building there that exists at the moment doesn't provide a lot of privacy to the neighbours as it is. The allegations of geotech reports not being in enough detail, I'm sure the council, who has much experience with geotechnical detail, would say something if the detail wasn't present. The same with shadow diagrams and the like. Chairperson, I'm not going to labour the point. Quite simply, and Mr. Evans backs this up, the proposal as it now stands complies, full stop. We have a small breakthrough in the building envelope, in part of the roof at the top, which is minimal and doesn't affect views. And again, that's borne out by the report. Again, I'll save the time. I won't labour the point any further. I do rely on the report of Mr. Evans that we received this morning, telling us that the building complies. It confirms that similar buildings do exist in the area, despite the things that other people say in their objections. And if there are any further questions, I'm more than happy to take them, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now I'm back. Other Mr. Haji, have you finished as well? Yep, terrific.
I'm sorry, Chairperson. I'm sorry. There was one point I neglected to add.
Okay.
That is the parking. There is at least 5 parking spots available, 2 in the garage, 2 behind in tandem, and another spot. 5 cars off the street, more than enough.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. I apologise for that.
Now, members of the panel, what questions do we have for any of our speakers in relation to this application?
Madam Chair, I don't have any questions for the speakers, but I just want to get some clarification from the staff, if I could, on some of the issues raised. That was all.
Okay, fire away.
Yeah. So if I could just talk to the staff, is Gary there, Mr.
Yep.
I am available. Yes, ready.
Yeah, Mr. Evans. Yeah. Look, just clarification, just so we can get it. It was raised. Have all the relevant plans that you've used in the assessment of this application been made available to the public through public exhibition?
Yes, apart from the stormwater management plan, which was deemed to be not required to be made public at the original submission. Ms. Gray raised a couple of issues about clause 4.6 objection not being available until the second round of notification occurred. I can confirm that the original clause 4.6 variation request was contained within the statement of environmental effects originally submitted. That document was obviously publicly available. As a result of it not being considered adequate, a further request, or council's formal request for information, included a request that an updated 4.6 variation request in isolation be provided. And it was at that point. Now, I understand that the survey plan wasn't necessarily available at the initial point. However, it has been made publicly available ever since. Okay. That was an error on council's part, but certainly the documents that have been relied upon are very much available and are publicly available and have been for quite some time.
Okay, thank you. I was on the regional panel for that original development application. From what I remember, the original application was essentially at the rear 4 stories, and from what I understand from reading the report and looking at the drawings, that that's been reduced by one entire story. So from the street frontage, it appears to be a 2-story and the rear 3. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. And there were significant additional areas removed to the rear of the existing dwelling, to the rear of the dwelling also, as part of the proposal that's currently before the panel for review. Yeah,
and that original application basically had what you could regard as a secondary dwelling or a dual occupancy or what have you attached to it, but the current drawing, the current development application doesn't, and there's a condition to that effect that it can only be used as a single dwelling. Is that right?
That is correct. That's provided for within the draft conditions.
Yeah. So if it was to be used for something else, council would have, opportunity to pursue that in a separate agenda.
Correct.
Okay. And just on the last matter was, you had no problem with traffic safety with regards coming and going, parking and the like. Obviously, it wasn't raised in the report.
Yeah, a number of submissions raised the issue of parking and the fact that the roadway is quite narrow and unformed, largely. Okay.
Yeah.
What I can confirm is that the driveway access that is currently in existence will serve the development as proposed.
Okay. So you got there's no change from what you've written and reported. Okay. Thanks very much, Mr. Evans. Thanks, Madam Chair. I've got no further questions.
Okay. Lindsay?
Just a question or a sort of observation and perhaps some feedback from Mr. Haji. I have some concerns about the look of the roof terrace as proposed in the application. And I'm just wondering how you would feel about perhaps setting back either translucent glazed fence or via planter boxes, perhaps 1.2 metres off the edge of the building, because currently it presents very much as 3 levels to the street and also around part of the southern elevation with the roof terrace. And I feel that its dominance could be reduced if the fencing was actually set back 1.2 metres or planter boxes placed on the boundary that are on the edge of the roof. 1.2 metres, just to sort of soften and reduce the visual impact of the roof terrace.
I wouldn't have a problem having, are you saying planter boxes on the outside of the railing or?
Yes, yeah. So there would be planter boxes on the edge of the building or close to, and then there would be a fence to one metre translucent glazing behind that.
Yeah, that's something we could consider.
Yeah, I mean, the planter boxes don't need to go on the northern side or the western side, in my opinion, of the roof terrace, but it's really just to soften the impact of the terrace from the street.
Yeah, that's something we could definitely consider.
Okay,
as long as
I
the
guess
planter boxes are on the outside and not taking up room of the
yeah. I mean, you could reconfigure to move the roof terrace the same amount sort of towards the centre of the building. I don't think there's any problem with that. There's scope for that.
Just the access is on the outside.
Yes, no, understand. And I'm also thinking, having looked at the plans, that the spiral staircase, you obviously land facing west to look out that way and to access the platform. But I'm also thinking behind the parapet that those areas not be trafficable,
right?
So that people can't sort of stand right on the edge of the rooftop and look over.
Well, that's something we can have a look at it and see what we can do. But
yeah,
because it's actually been pretty carefully thought about where it's positioned. It's not like the railing goes to the edge of the building and we aren't overlooking neighbours. So we can't even see in our own backyard where it's positioned.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I mean, you would still get your views of the ocean with that treatment. It's just I feel it'll be aesthetically more pleasing,
We're not
less dominant.
to intimidate anybody. We just want to take advantage of the views that are there, the beautiful views. So it's not.
Sure.
We're not trying to intimidate neighbours or anything. It's like I said, we can't even see in our own backyard from there.
Yeah. Okay, that's my only sort of observation.
Thank you, Lindsay. Lynn.
I did have some concern about tree removals, but I have read the report. I think I would just ask Gary again if the tree removals around the pool and I guess it would be the southern border are strictly necessary. I see that the council tree person has approved and has recommended replacing with 25-litre pot native trees. Just asking once again, because I hate to see 6-metre tall trees being knocked down. So just asking again if that is strictly necessary and if there's any appetite for leaving some of the plants there. Thank you. To Gary, that was, or to whoever would like to respond.
Yes, Lynn, it's Gary speaking. I defer to the comments provided by Council's tree officer. As is indicated, the trees are very much located in very close proximity to the existing crib rear retaining wall. Effectively, their root zone is very limited and their ongoing longevity, according to Council's tree officer, is minimal. We did look at retaining one of the trees and look to adjust some rear steps from a terrace to accommodate it. However, it was evident that the tree has been very severely pruned, and as a result of that, again, the tree officer's comments was that its retention value was very limited, effectively, or not worthy. Essentially, he thought it best to provide additional replacement trees in more appropriate locations on the site.
Okay, thank you.
Righto, thank you very much. Is that it for this application? Anybody else got any more questions? No?
Just clarify something?
Okay. All righty. Thank you very much, all of our speakers.
Could I clarify something?
Yes.
You've spoken.
Well, it was just that John referred to a report that he received this morning from council. Is that the report that was publicly available last week that we all have, or is it a new report that I don't have?
Okay. I assumed that was the assessment report, but I guess we should clarify that.
Can I clarify, Madam Chair? It's the report written by Gary Evans. It's dated 11th of April 2024. and I believe it's addressed to the local planning panel meeting.
Dated the 11th of April 2024. Well, we don't have that one.
Well, that's.
It was on council.
Hang on, I beg your pardon. Hang on, I may have misled you. I beg your pardon. Just let me go to the bottom of the report.
Just for the heading, John. So it was a
Yeah, no, it's in the heading. Yes, it's in the heading.
Yeah, so we had it.
Yep.
It's the agenda report.
I think, Madam Chair, it's just the this is Gary Evans. Sorry, I believe what the report that is being referred to is simply the agenda report.
The agenda report.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the thing that's been publicly available to everybody. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Terrific. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll now move on to the Guelin matter. Our first registered speaker for that is Bethany Fisher. Do we have a Bethany Fisher? No. Lisa, I can't see you, but you might be able to tell me whether...
Sorry, yes, she's here. I've got her here.
Yeah, I can see her name.
Yeah, I can see her name. No, I think she's I know her camera. She came in for the test tech, so I know it was working. She just didn't have a camera working. Yeah, we might just give her a quick call.
Okay.
Bethany, we're ready for you to speak.
Calling Bethany Fisher.
Yeah, we're just talking to her.
Okay.
No, you can't speak to her. So just like you did today with Lisa?
Everyone's waiting for her.
Everyone's waiting. Yes. Can they currently hear?
No.
No, they can't.
Well, I can hear it.
Ah. That Bethany Fisher?
Sorry. She's on the phone. I don't know, she's understanding.
And that's the fact. And I believe your preference is right.
Donna, did you want to speak, have the applicant speak first, or?
Part of it is about them having giving them the chance to respond to the
Yeah,
issue
right, okay.
by the members of the public. So I prefer
Sure.
the member of the public to speak first if they could possibly manage.
The bottom left corner it says unmute.
Sorry, we're just still talking to her.
I can hear it in the background. It's nice for council to be helpful.
Yeah.
She did the tech test fine, so I don't know why. Can I what?
Can you hear?
No, hear her? No, no. She's on mute.
Yeah, here we go. Oh no, she's gone completely. Oh, she's unmuted. Bethany Fisher, are you there?
There. Yep. No. Bethany? No, she's not. No.
All right.
I don't think she's going to be able to speak. I can't seem to get her in.
Is it possible that somebody who's got her on the phone could bring her over to you and hold the phone up and she could tell us what she wanted to say?
Yeah, sure.
Well, let's try that. That might be the
Okay.
best way around this problem.
Okay. And somehow she can try and speak like that.
Hold her up to the
Yep,
headset.
Bronny's going to do it to her headset.
Righto.
Just make sure you're off mute.
Oh, not good.
Like to start.
Okay, go. I can't hear her. No, can
Well, somebody's talking, so am I talking or?
Yep, far away. Is that you, Bethany?
Okay, I want to talk about the process. I can hear myself coming back.
Bethany.
Oh dear.
No.
All right. How about this? All right. I want to talk about the process. A development application was received completely outside the Central Coast Council's R2 low-density housing provisions, which at the time had been revised and were only about a year old. Seemingly, the only thing that constrained the development proposal was the envelope of the land. It appeared the applicant had little respect for the community consultation that had gone into the creation of the 2022/2023 planning provisions for R2 low-density housing. Understandably, objections to proposed development ensued. A modified development application was then received, removing the pseudo third story of the plans, which was not allowed by our development control, but the resubmitted plans still did not comply with the planning provisions, especially as far as setbacks and the streetscape and privacy, the impact of which I feel has been underestimated and not fully considered. It seems that since the applicant compromised on their initial plans, which were so outside our low-density housing provision, that somehow their modifications should be accepted even though they still do not comply with the housing provisions. There appears to be no substantive reason why they should not comply. In the attached schedule to the agenda on this item, there are a number of paragraphs on assessing the extent of the impact, negligible, minor, moderate, severe, or devastating, of the dwelling and whether the extent is reasonable or unreasonable. It seems to have been assessed, gathered by council, to be minor, to which I disagree and believe it to be at least moderate or severe. This is a quote from council. While most of the view loss can be categorised as minor, Rosie SC argues that when an impact on views arises as a result of non-compliance with one or more planning controls, even a moderate impact may be considered unreasonable. Council seems to only consider the impact of the neighbour on the southern side of the proposed dwelling, which has to deal with a loss of setbacks, in one instance up to 70%, as well as a number of others side, front and back. Needless to say, this has an impact on light, warmth and space to breathe on the property to the south, but not complying to setbacks also has a negative effect on others and provides a concerning precedent for future housing developments. There are other neighbours across the road and further up the hill that have a loss of view and breezeways from the lake by the proposal not complying with the setbacks as set out for R2 low density development. The latter, which does not seem to have been taken into consideration, especially with the onset of global warming. The box-like buildings blocks both views and breezeways from the lake to other properties. This at least would be lessened if the setbacks were complied with. The bulk and architectural style of the building is not in keeping, nor has it sympathy with the streetscape, nor the view from the public reserve, nor the lake. Although a suitable style for inner city or newer urban areas, it is not in keeping with the older area of Guelin and will take away from the inherent characteristic of the cottagey, relaxed existing ambience. I strongly feel that the Central Coast Council Local Environmental Plan 2022/2023 RS low density residential development provisions should be upheld and that the proposed dwelling comply with the setbacks as set out in this relatively new document. I've finished. The end.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Hello?
Yep, you might not be able to hear me, but
hello.
Can someone at council pick up the phone and thank Ms.
Fisher?
Yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Fisher for her comments and tell her that we did hear them?
Yep, no worries.
Thank you. Right. If members of the panel have nothing to ask about on that, I will move on to Ted Rileski, who is, I think, on behalf of the applicant. Oops, you're echoing as well.
Sorry.
We've got somebody else online here.
That's the owner of the property.
Yeah, okay. Lisa, can you mute everybody other than the person that's speaking, please?
Hello.
That's good. Okay, Mr. Rileski, let's see if that works.
Yep.
No. I'm muting myself now.
Have it now. Yep.
Go.
You ready? Okay.
Yep.
The setbacks, in regards to what the comments say, President, the council have not requested any changes to setbacks and accepted them based on merit. I mean, the DCB has setback height controls for desired character, future character of the streetscapes or the area. We comply with all that. Regardless whether there's a house 2-story or another 2-story building put on there, there will be view impacts. I mean, it looks like the neighbouring residents are treating, how do you say it? What's the word? They're using a vacant block of land versus a proposed development where you can't use that as an assessment. You've got to treat it as there being a 2-story house on that property. It's a waterfront property. The client has paid premium. All people pay premium for waterfront properties. We have high ceilings, rake ceilings throughout it. This assists us in not only natural ventilation, but also natural light throughout the property. So it's not merely just let's build the biggest house possible. There is reasoning for our architecture. As you can see through the view analysis that was prepared by our town planner, view corridors are still maintained through with this development proposal. We do have side setbacks from starting at 1.5 to 5 meters from the side. So based on the setback of creating unwanted architecture, undesired future, based on council's ECP, we have the desired future as stipulated in the council's code. What else could we say? We did make changes, yes, correct, from the first time. Rooftop terraces were permitted, but because we're over the height limit, that's why we weren't permitted. So actual rooftop terrace can be done if under the height limit. So we reduced that. We reduced everything that was asked for within the neighbours. We even changed the style of the house appearance to suit the desired future character. Existing houses along that street are all well over 50 years old. will have huge front setbacks, which are not necessarily can be achieved with the new and proposed developments. 10-meter setbacks to a 500 square meter lot of land doesn't leave you much land to put a house on. Most houses are holiday houses. Some were holiday houses, now permanent. As my client wishes to build this house and live there and settle down and enjoy his retirement, much like the rest of the neighborhood. Yeah. There's other new houses on there with the same setbacks we are proposing with modern designs. We can see council approvals from resetbacks of 3 meters on 2 properties down from our property. So we have no other reason why no other are non-compliant with this code and why there has been so much argument about this proposal.
Do you have anything to add? No? Is that, are you finished, Mr. Rileski?
Oh, yeah, I'm finished.
Okay, thank you. Members of the panel, do we have any questions for Mr. Rileski or indeed Ms. Fisher? God knows how we will do that. We need a tin can and a couple of tin cans and some string for that, but do you? Lindsay, I'm looking at you. I can't hear you, but because you've been muted. No, can't hear you.
No questions from me. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Hold it, I do.
Lynn, is that you?
No, that's not me. I'm not sure who that is. Nothing from me.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's Bethany.
It is.
Oh, it's Bethany.
Ms. Fisher, this is not a debating society between people for and against the application. You may have missed the introductory remarks, but what this is about is members of the public and applicants' representatives have the opportunity to have their say, and then members of the panel can ask questions of those people or council officers in relation to the applications being considered. Okay, now, Lynn.
So okay, so what I've said is meaningless. Do you want me to hang up? I don't know what you want me to do. I'm happy to do whatever you want me to do.
I'm terribly sorry. I certainly isn't meaningless, and we, despite the technical difficulties, we did hear all of the matters that you've said. I'm just simply asking members of the panel whether they have any questions for you, points of clarification for you or the applicant's representative, so that we can take the matter forward.
Okay.
So, Lynn.
No questions from me, Chair.
Okay, Greg.
No questions, Chair.
Okay, Mr. Rileski, I've got one. I just wanted to clarify something that I thought you said at the beginning of your remarks, that you complied with the setbacks and things, but my reading of council's report is that you don't comply with the required setbacks between the road setback between primary and secondary dwellings and ancillary dwellings, blah, blah, blah. You don't comply with the rear boundary setback, and you don't comply with the side boundary setbacks. That's correct, isn't it?
Side setback, we have the building envelope on there to show that.
Beg your pardon?
I did talk to council regarding this, and yes, it doesn't comply, but it's in keeping with all the recent applications approved.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Go on, go. Mute, unmute.
Sorry.
Mr. Rileski, you there?
The side setbacks, we had the building envelope showing the building envelope complying, but if what this is my mistake saying that the resetback does comply, was numerically it doesn't, but talking to council, they have approved recent applications with 3 meter resetbacks to the reserve. So I probably misspoke.
Okay, so your answer to my question is yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. All right.
Which is justified in council, they've accepted it. So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Might I speak, Madam Chairman? It's Gary Evans speaking. Just a point I'd like
if you want to clarify something, Gary, yes.
I will, just for a moment.
Gary's a council officer for anybody who's listening out there in Webland.
Just as indicated, under the former Wyong Development Control Plan, a 3-metre rear boundary to the foreshore reserve existed in terms of setback controls. However, with the alignment of Gosford and Wyong in a consolidated DCP in 2022, the Gosford control was adopted across the entire Central Coast area. So formerly a 3-metre setback applied. However, it is now 6 metres to the lower story and 10 metres to the upper level. And of course, that in turn has created significant issues in terms of the former Wyong area in terms of rear foreshore reserve setback compliance in terms of applications, given what is largely existing on a number of sites. That's just a point for clarification. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Okay. Does anybody have anything else in relation to this application?
Not from me, Madam Chair.
Nothing, Madam Chair.
Not from me.
Terrific. Okay. Well, I'd like to thank the speakers on that application as well, and to absolutely reassure Ms. Fisher that we did hear and understand what she had to say in relation to the application, and indeed from Mr. Roleski as well. As I said at the beginning, what happens now is that the panel goes away to deliberate on the 3 applications it's considering this afternoon. And because we're doing this electronically, the best way to communicate the outcome of that process is to get the minutes up on the council's website as soon as possible, and we will undertake to do that.
Lisa, Lisa, can I just ask one question? Just one question, which has nothing to do. Did the panel get the additional notes that weren't attached to the original agenda?
Yes, they did. Yes, the attachments. Yes, they did. Yes.
Okay, because that refers to where the setbacks are not being complied with. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And
Thanks, Bethany.
You may have heard my question on that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all very, very much. We appreciate your participation in the process. Members of the panel, can I ask, I might give us until 3:05 if that's okay, because I want to go and make a cup of coffee, and I'm sure you do too after this session. And we'll be back on at 3:05 in our deliberative session. So thank you, everybody, and I'll close this public meeting. Thank you for your participation.
All right.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
What a joke.
Hang on, people haven't gone yet. Mr. Roleski and Mr. Illamar.